And then I had a bunch of stories here, man. There's so many news stories this week.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Do we need to like bounce it off each other, or do you want to just jump right into it?
The story stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if I say something that you already picked out, then you can just bounce
Yeah,
off that.
we can just do that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Diction, I'm gonna just jump right into it then. Everybody ready here?
Cool.
Great news.
Yeah, we're good.
What's up, you guys? My name is Hutch. With me, as always, is Geo, and this is Podcast and Chill. And this week, our guest is a buddy of ours named EatMyDiction1, or Nick. What would you like to be called on this podcast?
Just call me Diction.
I'm gonna call you Diction. How are you doing, dude? You got in a fucking car accident a couple days ago.
I did, yes.
How
It
did
was
it?
a harrowing experience. It was more confusing and annoying than actually like
Was it
scary.
anything serious or?
No. I was making a left turn, and as far as I could tell, I had plenty of time. And then this dude clipped me like right in the back, like near the passenger side and the tire, and my entire like left side or right side of the car airbags deployed, and so I couldn't see what happened. Like after the fact, I couldn't see a car, so I went to go park, and I was just walked out, looked at the damage, and I was really confused for like 5 minutes until I realized the guy that had hit me was like a ways away in the parking lot on his phone with his insurance guy, and so it was just like a very confusing experience.
Wait, so he didn't
but-
even walk up to talk to you? He just immediately
No,
walked away?
first thing he did was get on his phone with his insurance company. I walked over to him and asked him if he saw what happened, because there were no other witnesses as far as I could tell, and he gave me the finger to wait. And I was
Wow.
like,
What
okay.
a
And then he like went into this like speech that clearly was like verbatim what the insurance company told him to say. And it was it was just really weird. And like, there was no human element to it. Like, I asked him if he was okay, and he didn't even fucking respond.
That's a bummer.
And yeah. And so it just like turned into us taking pictures of each other's fucking information and going our separate ways, basically.
What
So,
a dick.
yeah, it was really for my first accident ever. It was kind of a shittier experience than it should. I mean, it could have been worse. Someone could have gotten hurt, killed, that kind of thing. But just like
Yeah.
the fact that it was such a minor thing, and then but he didn't go through the proper channels of like actually being a human being about it was kind of annoying.
That's pretty silly. Well, I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear that it wasn't too serious.
Yeah. It's all
Even
good.
though you're okay and all that good stuff.
Oh, you're a little quiet to me again, Gio. I'm gonna turn
I
you
am?
up. Yeah. Oh, that now you sounds like you leaned into your mic there a little bit. But
Okay.
You're-
I'll just
Don't
stay
move your
here
head
forever.
at all.
do not
I'm gonna
move
stay.
a fucking
I'm,
muscle for the rest of this podcast.
I'm
if you
I'm
could do
never
that.
moving ever again.
For the
So-
viewers.
So,
or
so Diction,
listeners.
you're our first guest to have gone through film school. I think. Actually, no. I think Adam did. Maybe. I think
Adam
Manners
did,
might.
yeah.
have-
We've talked about that before.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And yeah, so obviously you love the arts and cinema
Yes.
and things like that.
The-
Can you
the
tell
arts
us a
of
little?
cinema.
Can you tell us a little bit about where that love came from? Have you always been a movie nerd, or is that something that came to you over time?
Yeah, I've ever since I could start like processing movies and TV shows in my brain, I've been a huge fan. Preferred that over, dealing with real life shit mostly. Uh, and then when I was like 12 or something, my dad rented a video camcorder to film something our family was doing. I think it was like Thanksgiving, and we had it for like a full week. So as soon as like his business was done with it, I took control of it and was just like filming incessantly to the point where it kind of annoyed him. And since then, like I kind of knew I wanted to have something to do with movies or creating like videos and stuff like that.
Film school must have been interesting. Did you live in a dorm or anything like that, or did you commute?
I commuted. It was in the Saul Zaentz Media Center in Berkeley, which is where it's like mostly a recording studio, and then several of the upper floors are for like actual movie producers where they do their meetings and stuff. Pixar people send their kids to the daycare center there. We would have to hear them screaming outside all the time.
Yeah,
So
Pixar's
we
based
got-
in the Bay Area, right?
They're in Emeryville, yeah.
Oh.
And so they drop off their kids where we went to school, and there was like a patio right where the editing suites were. So like did a pretty good job of soundproofing them, but every so often you'd hear kids screaming in the background, and we started to hate Pixar for that, for just like ruining
Just
our
for
our
having
time.
children.
Just for having kids. Like they make kids movies and then they had to go have kids of their own. Like, come on, dude. Don't be
Your
selfish.
spawn is not my responsibility, lady. Go make me a movie. Speaking of Pixar, I just watched Inside Out. Movie's
So
cool.
did
too.
I.
Whew,
Yeah.
so good.
Oh,
It was
Holy
did.
shit.
great. It was
We should have
really
synced that
good.
up and like got on Skype and watched it together.
Yeah, I didn't know we were gonna be watching that, but yeah,
I watched
really
it 2 days
surprised
ago.
me.
Was when I watched. I don't know when you guys watched it, but
I think I watched it Sunday night.
man, it was
Yeah, I
so
watched it
good.
on
I was
Sunday.
watching. I couldn't
Oh,
help
yeah.
but think like, okay, I understand that this is a kids movie, but this is deeper than most like, Wes Anderson films. When
Yeah, they did a really insanely good job of like characterizing how emotions work in
Yeah,
people's
they did.
brains.
It was phenomenal.
strange.
It was really good.
I'm not
Yeah.
normally like a huge Disney guy either. My girlfriend is crazy about Disney films, and so she's always wanting to watch them, and I'm always vetoing that. And she's been asking me to watch this movie for a while, and I finally got around to it, and it was goddamn phenomenal. So, guess we can kick the podcast off by saying that movie was great.
It really
Yeah.
was. It was a lot of
6
fun.
thumbs up.
I'm always a huge fan of Pixar movies, and I don't consider them like classic Disney movies, like other stuff like Lion King and things like that. So Pixar has always been my number one when it comes to like kids type-ish movies, even though a lot
Yeah.
of their themes are super like adult-ish,
Kinda.
and a lot of younger kids would not understand.
You know what movie I saw recently that had some insanely dark themes? And I'd never seen it before because it was a sequel, and so I wrote it off. But Babe Pig in the City is one of the most incredible films I've ever seen in my entire life.
And
You
it's
know
super
who
depressing.
directed that, right?
It's George Miller,
Yeah,
it's George
yeah.
Miller. And but I had heard like, oh, every so often I'll hear things about the movie. It's like, dude, it's really like the themes are really heavy for kids. And sure enough, like it deals with death, loss, like loneliness, like all these really heavy themes that should not. That I don't think they shouldn't, but like you don't normally see in G-rated movies.
You know what's interesting is that Ebert, what is it, Siskel and Ebert? So Gene Siskel, that was his name, right?
Yeah,
When he died of a brain tumor, I believe, and it was not a particularly comfortable death, and he was aware
Right.
that he was dying. And his last year on this planet, he rated that film as his favorite film of the year. And me and my friends used to kind of like, we were kids, we used to kind of joke about it, how he was kind of going crazy at the end of his life, and he called that his favorite movie. But when you talk about the themes now, it actually makes sense. If you think about a man who's actually dying, and here's this movie that deals with these themes and does it in a way that I guess is graceful. You're telling us it's a good movie.
it's pretty graceful. I mean, it's very. I mean, it's still very funny and bouncy, and like the set pieces and the animal wrangling is second to none. Like I've never seen so many live animals on screen doing what they're supposed to be doing perfectly with like no mistakes ever. Like it's crazy how good they were at wrangling those animals, because that's not easy. I've worked with animals on screen before. It's hard. It is so fucking difficult. Even if they're trained, it's so hard.
I imagine cats would just be the worst at trying to.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good that you kicked it off like that, because the way that we usually kick this podcast off is we just talk about the things that we've watched or read or played this week. We can talk about things other than movies, but we try to keep the focus on that. So if you want to kick us off with things that you've been doing this week in the arts, then we'll have a discussion and life will be great.
What have you painted? Have you painted any happy little trees?
Actually, no, I did do some drawings yesterday.
Yeah?
I set up Game Wisp for my Twitch subs and everything. And so if you're a subscriber, you log in through Twitch and then you get benefits. It's kind of like Patreon. Like people can donate and pledge money and get certain benefits. But if you're a subscriber, you already get these like juicy little like bonuses. And one of them was like, I'm going to draw a picture. Just tell me what you want me to draw and I'll draw it on stream. And so I got out my tablet that has a stylus. And I started drawing these really shitty pictures. All of them were about Marla, of course. They all want a picture of my cat. But yeah, so I actually did that last. It was a lot of fun too. Like I'm terrible. I'm so bad at drawing, but it was really funny and fun to do.
And what about
that's like
what about any movies that you watched this week?
I watched, after a long time of not seeing it for whatever reason, the Stanford Prison Experiment.
I watched that too a few weeks ago.
Oh God, it's so good.
It was really good.
It's
Yeah, that's
so
the one. What's his
fucking
name? What's the name of the guy who he was in Almost Famous?
It's,
Billy
Billy
Crudup.
Crudup.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great in that. And
Yeah.
the movie was like a younger cast too, and they all kind of killed it. Gio, have you seen that movie?
Nailed it.
I have not. I've actually never heard of it.
So explain the plot to him then.
All right, so it's based on an actual study that happened in 1971 at Stanford University. This professor made up a mock prison in one of the hallways in the basement, and they selected 24 students from around the country that were off on summer vacation to be a part of this experiment. What they did was they screened them extensively to make sure none of them had any like psychological problems. They weren't depressed, they weren't suicidal, they didn't have bipolar, anything like that. They were just normal people, normal men. And then they flipped a coin on who would be prisoner and who would be guards. And then they went and they had police pretend to arrest the people that were prisoners, and then they put them in the prison. They stripped them naked. They gave them these big gowns and caps.
And when you say, if I could jump in real quick, and when you say arrest, he means like go to their home and like knock on the door. And if
they said like you're under arrest for this crime
in front of their family and neighbors, all that stuff. Like it was a really immersive experiment.
Yeah, and the idea behind the study was to see how like what if you lose your sense of identity under these extreme conditions of being in prison. But unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot of control. And so within the first night, the guards were already abusing their power. And like they just realized very early on that no one was telling them not to do anything. Like they would just like start testing the waters and see how far they could push it. And it was supposed to run 2 weeks and it ran 6 days, and they had to stop it because it got so extreme.
So
and
fast.
So yeah. And the people that are the prisoners, like 9 of them completely lost sight of whether or not it was actually real. And they thought they were actually in prison, and they would have to go through the parole hearings and like actually get a lawyer and stuff to figure out a way to get out of there.
Oh my God.
Because the people that were conducting the experiment were so firmly committed to that line. So even when you had, I guess I don't want to delve too much into it because then we're going into spoiler territory. But it is a really, really, really interesting movie. Are you watching any TV shows these days? Because there's a lot of really great TV going on right now. Some of the best I think I've ever seen is going on right now.
I'm rewatching Breaking Bad actually.
That's never a bad thing. You can't.
I'm waiting for Jessica Jones to come out.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that.
Does that come out at midnight?
It comes out at midnight.
Like midnight East Coast?
I think midnight East Coast.
Damn it, I'm gonna be
because that's when Daredevil came out.
Oh my God.
Midnight East Coast. And
I'm gonna be
all
doing
that,
fucked up Friday, so I won't be able to. No, we better spoil that for me on the stream, or I'm gonna be mad.
I'm gonna spoil it for you on the stream.
My heater just turned on. One second. Gio, what about you? What have you been watching?
I watched Terminator Genesis to start off my week, which
was for the first time.
For the first time, it was. I don't know. I don't even know. Like it was bad, but it was also kind of like I wouldn't be mad if I spent a movie ticket on it because it was just very action oriented, but. To be a part of the Terminator universe, it's kind of it's kind of unfortunate because I am such a fan of the first 2 movies, and they kind of just like went back and rewrote history in all of the movies and everything like that. So it was kind of weird.
That's annoying.
And it also felt like they tried too hard to get the same feel as the first 2 movies. Like they even redid some of the scenes from the first and second movie.
Yeah.
And they I don't know. They tried too hard to push it to say like this is a Terminator movie. Love us because we know what happened in the previous movies and things like that. So it felt really forced sometimes.
It's like Star Trek. I actually really dug that resetting the timeline story. I thought that was done really well. The first
I dug that, and then the second movie they completely ignored that and just did the Khan story over again. It was kind of like.
Well, for the purposes of this discussion, I liked that. I liked Days of Future Past because that was actually an established storyline.
I mean, Into Darkness.
No.
That was X-Men.
Yeah,
That's
right.
X-Men.
No, I'm talking about X-Men now. So I'm saying these storylines that sort of reset the timeline for these films, like it's becoming like is that a trope? Would you call that a trope at this point? And like Genesis, my point is that Genesis didn't really pull it off as well as like a couple of these other movies have done it. But it was still a cool kind of like fun action movie.
It was definitely fun. It wasn't anything groundbreaking or spectacular, but it was just entertaining.
A lot better than Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines.
And Salvation. Like they.
Yeah, I didn't hate Salvation either, but I thought it was better than Salvation for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree.
What else did you watch this week?
I watched Inside Out as well. And I watched last night. I watched something last night. I don't remember what it was. I was going to talk about it. What did I watch last night? It was some movie. I think it was it Momentum?
Momentum or Memento?
I think it was Momentum. I think is what I watched last night. Can't really remember. I was slightly intoxicated.
Okay, so you didn't really watch it.
Oh no, I
So you
watched
didn't watch
Ant-Man.
it,
I watched
yeah.
Ant-Man. I watched Ant-Man.
Oh,
That's
you know
what
what?
I
I'm
like.
glad you said that, man, because I want to talk about Ant-Man. What did you
Yeah.
think?
Okay, because I really enjoyed it. I didn't expect anything of it because I actually hate Ant-Man as a hero. Like
He's
comic
kind
book
of
wise, I think he's
pointless.
super dull and just really just not a great hero whatsoever. But the movie adaptation of the character was fantastic. It was
Yeah.
really well done. The cinematography when he would just shrink and grow was really really well done. It was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great Marvel movie. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
I think the big criticism that Ant-Man gets is that the villain wasn't that great, and I agree with that. Like the villain was like,
yeah, completely.
it was all right.
He was pretty one note. Even though
Yeah.
that actor's really talented. He was
Yeah.
on House of Cards and shit. Like he's really talented, but like, yeah, it was kind of like throwaway, like, I'm gonna take over the world. Ha ha! That kind of bullshit.
He was a very,
you know?
very A through Z villain. He hit all the points he
Yeah.
was supposed to, and kind of took the paycheck and
I
left.
did
but-
like it, but the entire time I was watching it, I was just like, man, I wish I could see Edgar Wright's version.
I don't know enough about Edgar
man.
Wright to be sad about that.
He was going to
but-
do a version of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, he
originally
was
it was his script, and they doctored it after he quit the production because apparently behind the scenes working with Marvel Studios is not fun for directors.
Yeah.
Like for some of them at least, but most of the time they're pretty like nasty about just like really really trying to take control and make sure that they put as much shit that harkens to whatever the next movie in the series is going to be, you
Yeah.
know, like as opposed to them structuring an actual film around whatever is the plot.
and then
That's why
also,
that, like,
and then
There's
also
a
the
lot of
fact
shut
that
up-
like
the part with like Thor and the Avengers 2 that was like completely pointless, you know, like
Yeah.
was just like they made him do that, the director, because they're like, well, we're gonna set up Ragnarok, so you have to do this scene.
But no, I thought that Joss Whedon wanted to actually do more of the Thor storyline, and Disney was the one that wanted it cut.
Yeah, it was actually extensive, so it actually made more sense. But Disney or Marvel, whoever, cut most of it out and just had those little glimpse scenes that really didn't make any sense. But it was supposed to be a little bit more expansive and explain
Right.
and
Well-
stuff like that. But
And then also Ant-Man kind of fit the mold of like Marvel has this habit of, for the first villain when they introduce a hero, it's like the evil version of them. You had like the Incredible Hulk. You had Thor to a certain extent with Loki. You had Iron Man with the evil Iron Man, and then you have the
Yeah.
So it's like it seems like a little lazy when you look at it that way. But I watched Ant-Man again recently too. It was about a week ago. I forgot to mention it last week because I was down in LA. But the first time I saw it was in theaters, and I walked out of it going meh. And then this time I watched it, I actually had a really positive reaction because I was kind of like a lot more open-minded about it, and I realized that this movie is a comedy first and foremost before anything else, and
It's
a
like
cool
a comedy, a heist comedy.
yeah,
it's
and a
like
cool
what they're
action
going
movie
for.
is sort of like the secondary purpose of that film, I think. And when I looked at it through that lens, it totally works. Like Paul Rudd is fucking hilarious in that movie. The Hispanic actor, the one that's like telling those stories,
He's
like,
really great.
He's like recapping, and then my cousin said this, and then she said, and then like the actors are actually lip syncing at him as he's telling the story. Those scenes are really really funny too. And he's credited as one of the writers on the film, and you can tell his influence. You can tell the influence because his character is very Paul Rudd-like throughout the whole
There are
movie. And
7 credits for the writing.
yeah, it gets a little unruly when you look at that. But for me this week, I watched. I'm still watching Fargo season 2, and it's just like this.
I haven't started it.
Did you watch season
I don't
1?
have cable. Oh fuck, twice, dude. It's so good.
Okay, I'm not gonna say anything about season 2 then because I'm just
Good.
not gonna say anything. But it's like every episode is getting better than the last one, and it's just not stopping. And
That's nice.
And the cast, like Kirsten Dunst in particular, is just blowing my mind with how good she's. Like her acting in this is the best I've ever seen from her for sure. And it's funny because she wasn't even supposed to be cast in this. Like apparently when she auditioned, they told her that they didn't think that she was right for the role, and then somehow she got it. But yeah, season 2 is it's just a masterpiece. I don't know what else I can say about that. I started watching Limitless, the TV show, a few days ago.
How's that?
I fucking really like it. It's a lot.
Does it compare to the movie, like in any way?
Super, yeah. It's
Yeah.
way in line with the movie. I really liked the movie. I thought the movie was like an A+ popcorn flick. You know, I don't know
did too.
how
I
else to
really
describe
enjoyed
it, but visually it's also really cool too. They do a lot of stuff with the effects. But I realized that that Limitless is it's a lot like Sherlock Holmes, because I don't know if you don't know the premise of it. This guy sort of stumbles onto NZT, the drug that makes you limitless, much in the same way that Bradley Cooper's character did in the film. In fact, it's almost like an homage because it's so similar to the film. But then the FBI finds out that he's taking this and that he's capable of these things, so he becomes like a consultant or a liaison, and he helps them solve crimes, much in the same way that because I started watching Sherlock a couple weeks ago too, and that was really good, and it was super reminiscent of that. So if you like that kind of formula, you might like this. And then I saw Inside Out. We were going to go see something else, but then something else came up. Yeah, and we already talked about Inside Out. Really great film. I would recommend you guys go take a look at that. And fucking Black Ops 3 is still going, and I'm playing that just obsessively. Diction, I've seen you've been playing that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm balancing that and Fallout so I don't burn myself out on either game.
I haven't touched
Pretty
it.
nice. Like one day I'll do one game, the other day I'll do the next.
I'm trying so hard not to burn myself out in Fallout 4, but it's so hard. Like all
there's
I want to do is play that game.
Yeah, it's addictive, and then like if you're streaming it particularly, I find myself getting really into the like base building and like dressing up my settlers like Barbie dolls and shit, and going out to collect things to dress them up as. And I don't know if it's the most entertaining thing to watch, but for me it's awesome. It's like the best thing ever.
See, I've stayed away from that. I've just been like walking around and getting places on my map, and I have like 170 structures on my map, and I'm still looking for new places and things like that. That's what I'm really into right now in that game, and it's just it's ridiculous.
Did you guys see that article?
Game.
Did you see that article about how 15% of the players still haven't even left the vault yet?
Are you serious?
Yeah, like 15% of the people that are playing. And then there was I don't know, and they haven't left the vault yet. I'm not sure. But then also there was a funny little statistic that Pornhub released.
Oh yeah,
did you see that?
Oh,
for their gamer demographic, traffic dropped like 10 to 15% when the game came out, and they actually showed the metrics. I thought that was really cool of them too, and they were like, we're not even sweating it. There are more priorities right now than fapping. So I thought that was like really cool.
Pornhub's really like, I don't know, like they're just really cool. I think they also like they do a lot of charity work too, and apparently they like raised a bunch of money for some charity or for someone. For some reason, and the person denied it because it was coming from them, so they dispersed it among a bunch of different other charities or something like that. Like they're just like, I don't know, and their Twitter is hilarious too.
It's pretty funny.
So the next thing that we usually do, if I'm not mistaken, Gio, we do the news next year, right?
That's what it seems like.
So yeah, all right. So I have a bunch of news stories. You can get your news stories from lots of places on the internet, but I picked them from a site called 411mania.com/movies. So I want to give credit where credit's due. Gio, did you pick any stories out this week?
I've been looking, and I see that we have a new title for the second Alien movie. Well, the second prequel movie. It was Prometheus 2. We talked about it last week, I think. It was called Alien Paradise Lost last week. And now it's called Alien Covenant.
Yes.
Is the official name.
They released the synopsis for it too, and it's interesting because it doesn't include Noomi Rapace, I think is her name. It doesn't include her character. It's just I think the premise is that this takes place like long after Prometheus 1, but not very long, because some people stumble on the planet where the engineers come from, and the only living person there is David's head. I think. I'm not sure. I'm making myself sound stupid, but. Yeah, new name, Alien Covenant.
I'm really excited. I'm just any little news that comes out about this movie or section of movies just gets me hyped.
We talked a little bit about that last week too. Yeah. I have a few news stories about Danny Boyle actually. So he was kind of all over the place this week.
Oh yeah.
So Danny, apparently Trainspotting 2 is a thing. Did you guys know this?
Yeah, yep. I saw that
after a decade of since the last time they talked about doing it or something like that.
It says in an interview with NME, Robert Carlyle praised the script for Danny Boyle's Trainspotting 2, which begins filming next summer. Carlyle will reprise his role of Begbie along with Ewan McGregor, Johnny Lee Miller, and Ewan Bremner. He said on how he feels about shooting next year. It's nerve-wracking to a certain extent because I'm obviously aware of how much people love the original film. People still quote lines to me on a daily fucking basis. I get it everywhere. I can't fucking escape it, but I'm grateful for it too. Begbie has been terrific for me in my career. So therefore, and I think if you'd ask the rest of the boys, they'd feel the same. I'm slightly wary about it all. I mean, that's a long time to wait to make a sequel to a film that many consider to be like in their top 10. You know,
Yeah. Well, Irving Welsh wrote a sequel called Porno that took place 10 years after Trainspotting, and then so they were basing it on the book, but now it's been 20 years or something, so they have to they added 10 years to it and completely rewrote like the script to adapt to that, but apparently it's still very much like the same, same feel and everything.
I was really excited to hear about that. And in other Danny Boyle news, he says he may direct 28 months later.
Really?
Which I recently watched 28 Weeks Later again. It's not bad. I thought,
good.
yeah,
I saw it in theaters. Movie. It was terrifying, dude.
Yeah, like his the cinematography where they do like really up close and like on the shoulder of the infected while they're running and shit like that. For some reason, that really gets to me. Like
what
it's so
to that
creepy.
director though.
I don't know.
It says his name is Juan Carlos Fresnaledido.
He did the first.
He was supposed to do. Yeah, he was supposed to do the. No, he did the second one. He was supposed to do The Crow, but now he's doing a TV show apparently.
Yeah, that opening scene in 28 Weeks Later, where the dad leaves the mom and the kid, is like one of the most intense ways to open a zombie film I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it was
pretty
horrifying.
Those movies are extremely intense, and I love them.
He was also in the news talking about how he's disappointed with Steve Jobs, the biopic, saying that they should have, I think he said platformed was the way that he used it, so roll it out into on a smaller scale for longer and let it build momentum that way. So he's saying that he thought that they released it wide released it too soon, was disappointed with the box office draw from it. I saw that movie. I don't know, what did you guys think of it? Did you guys see it?
I didn't see it because didn't they come? Then I watched the one with Ashton Kutcher.
That's the bad one.
Like
that's
the
not
ago.
Good one.
Yeah,
but
not great.
It was weird to me that they came out with another one like a year later, and
because they fucked up the first one. It was all just hagiography bullshit, like making him look like a superstar.
I was just kind of like turned off by it, but I mean it's Michael Fassbender, so I'm gonna end up watching it anyway.
Yeah, they're like mildly critical of him in the first film, and then in my opinion, they were too critical of him in the second film to like compensate for that. Like that, and that was a big complaint that a lot of people had, was that it was basically like a lot of people felt that it was character assassination and he's not even here to defend himself. But at the same time, it was an interesting movie. It captivated my interest for the entire time I was watching it. So yeah, lots of Danny Boyle stuff going on. George Lucas explains why he won't return to Star Wars. Did you guys see this one?
I did not. Why does he say that?
George Lucas spoke with Vanity Fair for a new interview and explained why he wouldn't return to direct another Star Wars film. Quote, "You go and make a movie and all you do is get criticized." and it's not much fun and you can't experiment. And there's more to the story than that, but I'll just stop right there. So
he can't experiment, but I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I'm okay with him not directing any more Star Wars movies. I'm all right with that.
I think that seems to be the general consensus. There's not much else to that story, but I think that's the first time he's ever really commented on that. The Zoolander 2 trailer is here, and it's actually fucking funny. Like I did not like the first trailer, and I thought to myself, I don't want a sequel to this movie, but this looks really funny, and it looks like it's gonna be.
It looks like it has the feel of the first one, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah. The scene where Justin Bieber, as he's dying, posts to Instagram. It's like, yeah, if you can make me laugh like that in the trailer, I'm down. Colin Farrell and Ron Perlman sought for a Justice League Dark movie, and I'm glad that I don't know. Do you read comics too, Diction?
Yeah, not as much as I should.
I just actually opened up that story.
So this is I don't know anything about Justice League Dark, but this was a film that was originally tied to Guillermo del Toro, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he bowed out of that. But rumors are that Colin Farrell and Ewan McGregor are up for the role of Constantine, which I think Colin Farrell, when I imagine him in that role, that makes me happy.
That makes sense.
And anything with Ron Perlman, I'm on board with usually. What can you tell me about Justice League Dark? Because I know nothing about this storyline.
I literally know nothing either. I don't know a lot of Justice League stuff. That's like I'm really into like Preacher and Batman and Spider-Man stuff, but when it comes to anything else out of that, I'm kind of ignorant towards it a little bit.
Well, do you know, like, can you tell me when you say Justice League Dark, does that mean they're bad guys or does this mean they're good guys with
The only
dark
thing I can
pasts?
think of is there's like a alternate universe where the Justice League are bad guys, and that's the only thing I can think of. But I don't think that's that.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
that. Yeah, I don't think that that ties into this, but
I mean, it could.
Gio, I
It
was really
could.
hoping you would
It,
shed a light
well,
on
okay.
this for me.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if it's starring,
there's-
if it's gonna have Constantine in it, it's probably more of the supernatural like side of that stuff, like the Sandman, that kind of shit.
Yeah, I think
That's
in
what I'm
fact, yeah, I
thinking, like,
think that I
maybe
think
if
that
it-
was one
yeah.
of the characters that they mentioned as being in
You
the
know
movie.
what? You know what? Okay, so I now that you said that, I'm pretty sure the Justice League Dark is just it's not the original Justice League characters. It's literally like 6 supernatural characters like Constantine that basically battle the forces of evil, something like that.
Okay.
Does
I
this
think
play?
I know
Does
what-
this play into the multiverse that's going on over at DC? Because don't they have this
Well-
thing now where like there's like 50,000 different alternate universes?
Well, yeah, they did the convergence thing a little while ago, but there are like 50 something universes and stuff. And I'm pretty sure this is one of them, and I'm pretty sure it's just 6 supernatural heroes that basically fight supernatural villains and things like that. So it's kind of like ghost stuff and like spirit stuff like that kind of Justice League. It has nothing to do with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and stuff like that. I don't think it has any of those characters involved.
So actually, I'm reading here that Del Toro actually wrote the script for the film and will produce. So that's exciting news. We talked a little bit about Did you see Diction? Did you see Crimson Peak?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Yeah,
waiting for bod rental on that one.
I think it's totally worth a rental. Yeah. Well, yeah, we talked a little bit about that week, but we'll just move on here. True Detective season 3 not yet set. This one really bums me out. Even though did you guys watch True Detective?
I haven't gotten to the
I-
episode where season 2 gets good yet.
I have
Okay.
I
It's
started
really
a little
hard
bit of
for me.
the first season, but I haven't really gotten any farther.
You
Yeah,
said
like
you only
2
watched a
episodes
little
in.
of the first. Okay.
Yeah, I watched like the first 2 episodes, I think.
Well, I'm a huge fan. I thought season 2 chugged a little bit in the middle, but then I thought they did a really good job for the last couple episodes. But the guy who wrote the both seasons, I believe, Nick Pizzolatto, yeah, has signed a new
Yeah.
deal with HBO. Although a third season of True Detective has not been decided, HBO announced today that Pizzolatto, who created the noir crime anthology series, has signed an exclusive overall deal through 2018 and will include a number of new projects, which is a bummer because True Detective is on Showtime. So that may mean that the show is no more, which I probably would guess that because of the tepid reception of last season. But
Yeah.
at the worst,
Well,
it
maybe
could mean
they're
it's
going
not
to
going
take
to
an
come.
extra long time to try to get their bearings and come back strong. I hope they do.
Is that what they said, or are you saying?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
usually like articles like that, when they say that kind of stuff, it means that they're going to restructure before they're going to consider cancellation.
Yeah.
So they might find a different producer or something, like, I don't know. Someone to rein it in and be like, okay, this season didn't perform well. Let's figure out a way to make it better,
Yeah, honestly, I think Vince Vaughn was like a big part of the problem why that season didn't do that well. It was really hard.
I didn't
for
understand.
Me to,
I still don't understand why his character's in the fucking show.
yeah,
Like, I don't get it.
It'll get there by the end, but I mean, someone actually broke it. Someone, Esme sent me an article breaking down in depth everything that's going on plot wise in season 2. It is fucking insane how much they packed into that plot. Like, it was just way, 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 way too much. I still loved the tone and the acting of the film, and I could follow it somewhat well enough. So I was able to be entertained for the most part, but a lot of people were let down by that. And this is a bummer because at worst it could mean that the show's never coming back. At best, it's going to come back in like 2019, which, Diction, you're saying that might be a good thing, but I don't know. I was bummed when I read that. Ryan Gosling says he's involved with Blade Runner 2. This one has me super excited. In an interview with Collider, Ryan Gosling confirmed he is involved with Blade Runner 2. The film will be directed by Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins as the cinematographer. He said the involvement...
That's such a boner-inducing combination. Oh, my God.
Tell me about these two, because I don't know who they
Yeah,
are.
I've heard those
He
names.
directed Prisoners and Enemy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this guy's
All right.
talented.
I can get down with that.
And Roger Deakins has been in the business for forever. He does all the Coen Brothers movies. His cinematography is just like he teaches other cinematographers how to fucking do their job. Like he's so good.
Yeah, the film's going to be produced by Ridley Scott, and Harrison Ford is coming back to play Rick Deckard. I just watched that movie again a couple nights ago. I love that movie.
I
It's
really
so
need to watch
good.
that movie again. It's been way too long. I was like a kid when I saw it.
It's good. It's got some weird, like, kind of probably dated like scenes. Like the scene where he kind of forces himself on what's her name? Oh my god, Rachel. Was kind of like uncomfortable, like watching it the second time when I was a little bit older. I was like, this is a little like extra weird, but it kind of, I guess it goes into place with like the theme. Like she's a robot, so
Right.
does she
Yeah.
have rights? I guess is kind of like the. But it
Yeah,
kind of made it really hard to root for Harrison Ford after that point, you know.
The CG in that movie is not terrible either. It totally doesn't age well, but it's not terrible. Like when I watch it now, it doesn't take me out of it. Like sometimes when I watch Lord of the Rings these days, the CG takes me out of it because it's so CG, and then like
It's very
And it's
over-rendered.
everywhere. It's in every scene, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you know that Viggo Mortensen actually came out and said that he really did not approve of the amount of CG that was used beyond the Fellowship of the Ring? He said he loved the way that the Fellowship of the Ring was done. There was way more emphasis on practical effects, but then the Two Towers and Return of the King were like 90% CG, and he said that was
I agree
really
with that.
frustrating for him as an actor.
well, there's that picture on Tumblr that went around of Sir Ian McKellen crying on set during The Hobbit.
There's a picture of
Because
that?
he's surrounded by these fucking popsicle sticks with the pictures of the actors' heads next to him on a green screen stage, and he's got his head in his hand, and he's like sobbing, and like the quote was like, "This is not why I became an actor."
I'm
it's
looking
like,
at
it's
that picture.
disheartening.
Oh, there it is right there.
And
Wow.
Peter Jackson said to like recently that like he was winging it making those movies.
Yeah.
Like he was just kind of like making up as he went along, which makes a lot of sense because the Hobbit movies are terrible and they don't make any sense. And there's like a bunch of weird filler shit that doesn't fit with the book or even like the lore.
And 48 frames a
And,
second doesn't fucking look good in movies.
It looks horrible. It,
does
looks
not.
so stupid. It looks like a
It does
fucking
not.
TV show in Britain. It's
It looks
goddamn
like
horrible.
It looks like Friends. Like it was like watching Friends.
That was so
old.
frustrating. That was so frustrating when he came out and was like, "Get with it, guys. Get with the times. This is the wave of the future." It's like, no, it's not. No other movie has done that since. Like, no one's doing this. It doesn't look good. I
It was
hated.
really bad.
Like, I really, I didn't think The Hobbit was terrible, but when you make the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it can't just be not terrible. It needs to be like momentous. Memento remake in development. This one makes me cry all the tears. The film that made Christopher Nolan famous is getting God, someone has just joined my lobby in the PlayStation 4. The film that made Christopher Nolan famous is getting a redo. AMBI Pictures have announced that they are set for making a remake of the 2000 noir thriller Memento after acquiring the exclusive media group library, which includes the likes of Memento, Cruel Intentions, Donnie Darko, and Rush.
I'm throwing up.
Oh
in
my
mouth
God.
right
What
now.
the fuck?
The original film starred Guy Pearce as a man named Leonard with anterograde amnesia, unable to compile new memories. We all know the plot of this film. Man, that's such a bummer. I want to hear what he has to say about it, what Nolan has to say about it, because he wrote that movie too with his brother, right?
Yeah.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't his first film, right? He did one called that was like black and white, I think.
Following. It's on Netflix.
There
It's
you go.
fantastic. It's
Is it
really,
good?
Really good? It's really good for like his first feature, and it's shot clearly on a budget on like 60 millimeter with really crappy sound. But the story, it's like you can see like why he is where he is right now. The way he shapes narratives is insanely talented and just crazy intricate.
Well, I hope that this movie falls in the same way that the Raid or the proposed Raid remake.
Oh yeah,
Fell.
apart completely. Thank goodness.
I really hope that
Yeah.
this falls apart. We do not need a remake of this film. This film was
We
such
didn't
a
need
great
a remake
movie.
of Old
I
Boy. We
said
don't need
this-
a remake of Memento.
I
Just
did the
stop.
Old Boy remake. I had to stop watching.
It's
The
so
old-
bad.
It was awful.
They just
I haven't
missed
watched
every
either.
single
Uh-huh.
like narrative and like emotional mark. They just completely whiffed by it.
Yep, and it was just an action. It was
And
a
then they
Hollywood
tried to
action
outdo
flick.
the fucking hallway fight scene. by
Oh,
like
they
moving
ruined it.
They moved the camera a little bit more. They're like, yeah, check this out. It's on a jib arm. Like, I don't give a shit, dude.
They fucking ruined that hammer scene.
I've
And
never
also,
seen
they,
Oldboy, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
on
fabulous.
Netflix.
It's
on Netflix.
fantastic.
The original Oldboy is on Netflix.
I think the
and
new one is too.
Yeah,
Don't
It
watch.
was for a
don't
while.
even
You
bother
don't watch
with
the
that
new
one.
They also left out like one of the best scenes in the movie, which is the first scene in the original movie when he's in the police station.
Oh yeah, when he's like
One of
super
the-
drunk and like
one of
sassing the police
funniest
officer.
and just like greatest scene in that movie, and they just completely just skipped over and didn't even have it in the remake. Like it was a travesty.
I don't have reboot phobia or redo or remake phobia. I think that the like Star Trek for me is a good example of that because I really like both those.
Yeah,
those
no, like
films.
I like that because the spirit was there and the characters in the spirit were there. That's what mattered.
And I trust J.J.
Yeah,
Abrams for the most
Yeah.
part when it comes to sci-fi stuff.
for the most
But-
part. Yeah.
But I can't see any universe where I would watch a Memento remake or enjoy it. I'm
That's
not.
the thing. That's another reason why the Oldboy remake was terrible is because like Oldboy, everyone knows Oldboy has a really awesome twist at the end.
I don't know that.
Spoilers, there's a twist.
I don't know that.
But so they remade it and they remade the twist and they made it different. And it's just kind of like they're gonna do that with Memento. There's a really awesome fucking mind-bending twist at the end of Memento, of course, and they're just gonna try to change that and make a new twist to kind of justify the remake.
The shittiest thing about the remake of Oldboy is they marketed it as having a suspenseful twist that you will not expect. That was literally in the trailers. They just came right out and said there's a twist and you're not going to expect it in the trailers. Like, what?
So here's the thing, though. Like,
Who does that?
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna backpedal a little bit and say that maybe like 20 or 30 years from now, if there was a director out there that was capable, yes, then introduce Memento to a new generation with new actors and things like that. I'm okay with it then because I look at a movie like True Grit, which is like scene for scene almost identical to the film to the film that they were remaking and still thoroughly enjoyable. I watched the old True
That's
Grit and the
different
new
though
one.
because it's based on a book. So it's like they weren't going after the movie as far as like adapting it. They were adapting it straight from the novel.
Oh, I guess you have a point there. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but still, it was. I preferred the Coen Brothers True Grit over the original.
Oh, it's
any
great.
day.
It's
any
so
day.
good.
You know, I fell asleep during that movie in the theater.
I love that movie.
There's
man.
something wrong with you. There's
I
something
think
wrong
I
with
should
you.
probably rewatch it, huh?
You know what I love
Yeah.
about that movie is the way that the movie is written in like what style of English do you call that? Just classical English or old English or what is
it's
that?
just the way people talked back in the like the early 1800s.
like the guys who wrote Deadwood, whoever that was. I can't remember his name, but
it was a weird because it was still like very very soon after colonization, so people even though they were on the opposite side of the country from like Boston and shit, it was like weird just like nomenclatures and colloquialisms from England
Right.
carried over, and they just kind of mixed it in with their weird rancher speak,
right, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
a really good movie that has that kind of speak is 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah,
They did a really good job of adapting the way people spoke back then.
I love that it's like a mental workout because you really have to fight to understand the jokes sometimes because it's such a different way of speaking English
Yeah.
than what we're used to. And Deadwood was the same way for me. The first episode, I had a really hard time following it. And I wanted to because I really liked all the actors. But the longer I stuck with it, I was able to kind of speak the language a little bit more, or a little bit better after watching it a little longer. True Grit was the same way. I don't know how we got to True Grit from Memento, but moving on. Bryan Singer is returning for another X-Men film. It appears as if Bryan Singer isn't done with the X-Men franchise just yet. Le Journal de Montreal reports that Singer is returning to direct the next film after X-Men Apocalypse, which he also directed, which shooting beginning as early as 2017. This is a surprise because I thought, and the way that they were kind of marketing it too was like, this is our final hurrah. Like it's X-Men Apocalypse. We've never done an X-Men on this scale before. I'm not necessarily opposed to it or anything like that. I really think Bryan Singer does a great job with basically every X-Men
as long as he's at the helm, it's in good hands, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, like it's hard because I think I'm looking forward to Batman v Superman a little bit more because it's fucking Batman v Superman. But X-Men Apocalypse is definitely on my radar, and the thought that we've never seen an X-Men attempt a movie of this scale before has me really excited. Like, what kind of villains could they like? I had the thought that Omega Red would be a cool villain on the screen, like not a main villain, but certainly a side villain.
He would be solid. He would be. I would love to see him on the big screen. That would be really cool.
He was one of my faves. Yeah,
I just want to see Jubilee finally make it into that.
She's in
Apocalypse. She's in Apocalypse.
She is?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
shit, yeah.
Jubilee's in Apocalypse.
And
she actually fires actual missiles out of her fingers instead of fireworks.
I think it stays pretty faithful to it. And like her character, like they got the look of these characters down so well. Because if you just Google images X-Men Apocalypse Jubilee, she looks exactly like Jubilee from the comics.
I forgot the name of the actress.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but that looks like Jubilee to me.
I will probably know. Let's see.
But yeah, he Bryan Singer, if you guys are listening and weren't aware, he was the director of X-Men 1, X2. He did not direct X-Men 3. That was directed by Brett Ratner, who just completely destroyed that movie.
Fuck that guy.
He's an asshole. He's like a legitimate asshole.
I think he helped with First Class. I think he was a producer on that, and then he directed. He came back and directed Days of Future Past, and is directing Apocalypse. So you guys have a reason to be excited for next year.
I have just so much more faith in X-Men movies since Days of Future Past. Like that completely changed my mind. I hate X-Men movies so far. Because I did not like X-Men 1 through 3. Like, I was not a fan of those movies. One was
X2?
okay. I didn't. I could not like it.
You need to go back and watch X2.
Yeah.
Because that's...
should I? I watched it many times trying to like it. I just couldn't do it.
Try again? Harder?
I will try again harder for you. But Days of Future Past was fantastic. It was phenomenal.
I liked First Class. I mean, it wasn't...
First Class was
it doesn't hold a candle to...
Keep forgetting that's one of them.
yeah. Well, Matthew Vaughn,
like my favorite.
Matthew Vaughn directed that one. Who directed Kingsman? Oh, that's another movie I watched again recently. You know what I fucking love about Kingsman, by the way? If I want to just go off, the action is shot so clearly. There's no guessing game. It's just brilliant coordinating. They don't try to hide any lack of physical capability by the actors with sort of Nolan-esque. Or who's the guy that... I
can't stand the way Christopher Nolan shoots action scenes.
Not great at it.
Infuriating.
Inception, he did a better job.
Because like every other shot in his movies is beautiful. It's really well composed. Lots of really great lighting. But then as soon as action happens, he just forgets exactly what he's doing, and it's all shaky cam fast cuts with no actual impact shots.
It's the fucking Bourne Identity bullshit that they do, where it's like if I shake the camera, it'll make the audience nervous or feel frantic, and I just feel confused because I don't know what's going on. When you watch Kingsman, it's all wide shots. There's not a whole lot of quick cuts, especially the church scene. Like you guys know what I'm talking
well, the fight scenes are usually one shot.
The church scene was like, as someone who studied film, I can see where they did the cuts, but they did a really good job of hiding them.
Right. Yeah.
There was a lot of CG in that, like made it look like it was one continuous shot, but it was probably like 5 or 6.
And I feel like they did some stop motion in there too. It seemed like they did. Like I don't know, but that's to me I think that Mad Max was probably the best action movie of this year, but that movie is a very, very, very close
any year
second.
since The Raid.
Yeah, I mean, Mad Max
is
my
Raid 2, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Mad Max is my favorite. It became my favorite film of all time. Like I've watched it a few times now, and it took that #1 spot away from Eternal Sunshine. But yeah, Kingsman is great. X-Men First Class is great. You guys should go check it out if you haven't watched it. And that's all I have for news. Gio, I don't know if there was anything that floated your boat.
I just wanted to mention Midnight Special. I think I saw you talk about it today on Twitter. Actually, I saw the trailer last night.
Jizzed all over that fucking trailer, dude.
Looks like a phenomenal sci-fi movie.
I didn't see any. I didn't watch the trailer for this yet. Who's in it? What's going on? Talk to me.
It's Jeff Nichols. He directed Mud, Take Shelter, and Shotgun Stories.
Mud was
all three of those movies are fucking phenomenal in their own way. They're very different from each other. This one's a little more like sci-fi. And it's the synopsis: a father and son go on the run after the dad learns his child possesses special powers. And it's got his usual Michael Shannon's in it. He's in all of his movies. Adam Driver, Kristen Dunst, and Joel Edgerton.
Well, Michael Shannon's great, man. I love him.
Yeah,
he's such a brooding presence. You know, it's
interesting. He can play a good guy and a bad guy in like the same fucking with the same face.
Yeah.
And you're like no matter what, you believe the character completely.
He was totally likable in the trailers for Still Alice. You remember that? Or no, was it Still Alice? What's the movie where that's coming out with Julianne Moore, and she plays someone who works for the FBI who's gay and is fighting for her right to, and she's dying, and she's fighting for her right to like pass everything down on. It's for a gay rights movie. Michael Shannon's in it. Totally likable in it. Whatever. Never mind.
Freeheld.
I don't know what it's called.
It's it's her and Ellen Page.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
In the trailers for that, he's like super likable, and then in every other movie I've seen him in, he's just kind of creepy and kind of evil. And it's interesting that he got nominated for an Oscar for Revolutionary Road, that's Sam Mendes film, when he was only in 2 scenes of that film. Like his character only had 2
That's how
scenes.
good he is, dude. He fucking steals it every
Yeah.
time he's on screen. He steals it.
He's really good, man. All right, so the next section that we do, if you don't have any other stories here, Gio, is
Oh yeah, we're good.
a section we like to call Over Under. Talk about movies that are overrated, talk about movies that are underrated, and have a little discussion about those. We like to kick things off with the overrated films first, so we can end it on a positive note. So, Diction, were you asked to think about this a little bit?
I couldn't really, I don't know, come up with anything off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of one of those contrarian dudes where I think a lot of fucking movies that people like are overrated.
What is the most notable film in the last year that you can think was overrated?
In the last year, okay.
I'm gonna shoot it over to Gio. Let you think about that for a little bit.
Let me ponder that for a
Gio,
second.
what is your overrated film for this week?
All right, so this is gonna be awkward
Oh god.
because I have no idea what my overrated film for this week is, because I literally started thinking about it like 2 days ago, and I could not think of one. Nothing really popped out of my mind as being overrated.
Well, this week is more of an
Actually,
under
no, I
week.
do have one.
Hey, Diction's here to
There we
save
go.
us.
Okay.
All right.
And this is gonna give me a lot of flack, but Jurassic World, I think, is overrated as fuck.
Okay.
It's
okay.
and
and say that's mine too.
and as a huge fucking Jurassic Park fan, I love that movie. I grew up with that movie. I wasn't on the hype train as soon as I saw the trailers. I like the director. I like his first movie, but I wasn't on the hype train. And then I rented it. I never saw it in theaters. And for the dino action and the effects, it nailed it. Totally nailed it. Everything else was terrible as far as I'm concerned. I was just really bored with all the characters. Like I didn't even like Chris Pratt in it. I didn't even like him in it. I thought he was just kind of a like one note. I'm a big tough dude who knows more things about dinosaurs than you do.
See, I'm the guy that after I left that movie, I was tweeting, if you don't like Jurassic World, then you don't like fun. So the parts of the movie that were fun were the parts with the dinosaurs. Everything else, I was just kind of like, I saw the cogs and the wheels in motion, and I knew where they're taking things, and it kind of pulled me out of the experience. But here's where I'm gonna hold you to task, sir, because this is not a film that you watch at home. You watch this film on a big screen with big loud ass speakers.
I have big speakers.
Well, it's nothing like an IMAX theater.
I don't want to see that shit with a bunch of fucking noisy children. Are you kidding me?
Okay, well, all right. I'm just gonna move on to my overrated film this week. Shit. I had it in a tab.
I hate that movie. That's the worst movie ever. Yeah,
I almost
I don't know
forgot.
why everyone likes it.
I almost
Flush it down a
almost
toilet.
forgot what mine was because I typed it on an internet tab and I just closed it. But I remembered right now. So my overrated film this week is American Sniper, directed by Clint Eastwood. I liked this movie, but holy shit, did they take liberties with the actual story? Like they just
that's what I heard.
They invented a rival sniper that somehow he has encounters with on every single tour. Like he had 4 tours, and in the movie they wanted a way to tie all these tours together, so they just made up a villain who was this Syrian Olympic sniper or something like that. They took so many
for that.
I guess I didn't know that, but I guess
do now.
And no, I think they do, but I mean, I'm look really ignorant. But like biopics that take liberties for a reason, okay, I understand. Like Danny Boyle's Steve Jobs comes to mind. That movie, those conversations never happened. That if you don't know the plot of that or the basis of that film, the film takes place before 3 major presentations that Steve Jobs gave. And it's all conversations with like his assistant person and his daughter and his ex-wife. And, you know, these conversations never happened, but for the purposes of trying to understand who he was, they invented these conversations. And some people applauded it. Some people denounced it. But this movie just made shit up just cause. Like there's a way to weave a story together that's interesting where you don't have to just outright lie. And what also really bothered me about this film is that it fucking got nominated for like 15 Oscars or something like that. The Academy loves Clint Eastwood, and he's great. Like, I'm not going to deny that, but I mean, I have more examples of this for my underrated film that I want to talk about here in a little bit. But did you guys see American Sniper? Did you guys like this
No.
movie?
Yeah, I watched it and then I watched it again, and I didn't know. I went in ignorant about the story of the character, so from that point of view, I really enjoyed it. But as I went and read stuff about the character and his life and things, I kind of started not liking it so much because
Yeah,
of
like
the
weird
main reason
shit,
was
man.
that rival sniper. Like in the when I first watched it, I watched it in theater. I thought it was awesome. You know, like this rival sniper that was as good as him, that's going at it back and forth. I thought it was a cool type thing. And then when I found out that guy wasn't even real, I'm like, what the fuck is this Hollywood bullshit in a pseudo like documentary setting of telling a guy's life? Like it was weird. I don't know. I'm
I,
still iffy about how I feel about the movie though.
I don't know why I'm more inclined to criticize this movie for taking liberties than other films, because I really don't mind it as much. It's just maybe that it's just like such a recent topic and it's still such a relevant topic that you're not really doing that topic any justice by just fabricating things. Yeah, and then there was just like a lot of funny things about him like in real life that were just kind of weird. Like he lied about hitting Jesse Ventura in a bar one time because he felt like Jesse Ventura was being disrespectful to Navy SEALs right after a funeral or something. And Jesse Ventura ended up suing him and then winning. And then after he died, that he was owed money by the estate of Chris. What's his name again? What's the guy's name again? Chris Kyle. There it is. And then people were labeling him this like monster who was stealing from the guy's wife or something like that. And it was, the guy is just way too controversial to me to be a hero. I'm gonna get myself into trouble for saying that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say about this, but I didn't really like.
What you're saying is you hate America, is what you just said.
I basically hate everything America stands for. Yes. No, I appreciate people in the service. I really do. I have like my whole family is like littered with people that have been in the service, but this character was just way too controversial to me. And then okay, so now I guess we can move on to the underrated portion. Gio, did you pick one of those at least?
Oh yeah, I have a movie.
Right. Great news.
It's a movie with characters and they do things. It's called A Man from Nowhere. It is I think Vietnamese. I'm actually not certain, but it is a action drama, and I always explained it as to people that haven't seen it before we watch it, like Taken, but actually good, with real characters, real emotional story, and is one of the only action movies to actually ever bring a tear to my eye because it'll plug at your heartstrings like really hard. And the fight scenes are really well done. The acting is really good. The characters are really cool. And I don't think enough people have seen this movie. It's on Netflix. It's called The Man from Nowhere, and I highly recommend if you're into really, really good action flicks.
If it's on Netflix, I'm gonna have to check that out, and then we can chat shit about it next week here.
I'm okay with that.
Diction, did you think of an underrated film?
I did. It's one I watched recently. It's on Netflix. It's called Housebound. It's from New Zealand, I believe. It's like a psychological horror comedy about a girl that like gets arrested trying to rob an ATM, and she's put on house arrest with her weird parents. And then creepy stuff starts happening, and she enlists the help of the officer that's in charge of coming to her house anytime she like runs away or something, because he's kind of like an amateur ghost hunter. And it starts off kind of just like goofy and kind of scary and stuff, but the last half hour is some of the funniest, goriest, like most disgusting shit I've seen since like Peter Jackson was doing his old horror movies back in the day. And it's great. It's fantastic. It's so good.
I love that both of you guys are giving me movies I can just watch on Netflix.
Yep.
Which makes it super easy.
It's what I'm going for. Also, speaking of Peter Jackson movies, what was that movie with the priest that did kung fu, the martial art priest?
What?
Which one was that?
I didn't hear about that. That's a Peter Jackson movie?
It was an old one where this guy had a house and he was like hoarding zombies in his basement.
I hadn't heard of that.
Was...
Nah.
Oh my god, it's fucking hilarious though.
Speaking of
Diction.
New Zealand, and I know
Yeah.
Diction, you've seen this movie because you mentioned that he's going to be directing Thor Ragnarok. But What We Do in the Shadows, is that what it's called?
Oh yeah,
Holy
Yeah.
shit, that fucking
that's my
movie
favorite
is-
comedy from like
That
the
is-
last decade.
it's
It is
so good.
hysterical.
It's such a good movie.
It's really good. It's got sidetracked. My underrated film this week is a film called Zodiac. Came out in 2007, directed by David Fincher, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Jake Gyllenhaal, who, by the way, should have been fucking nominated for an Oscar in this movie as well, as he should have been nominated for an Oscar for fucking Nightcrawler. What did he do to someone in the Academy that pissed them off? Like, has he ever been nominated for Best Actor? I don't
Probably
think
for
so.
Brokeback Mountain, I imagine.
Oh, you're probably. Wait, no, he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that because.
Yeah, that's still a
uh,
nomination.
I guess you're right there, but yeah, I mean, Zodiac is like, it's if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, it's rated really well. I think it's like 89, 90%, something like that. Most of the time, it's getting like 4 out of 5 stars, things like that. So
Yeah.
so it's not underrated in that sense, but it did not get nominated for a single Oscar, and I don't know why. This is my barometer of what an underrated film is. But if you look at the films that got nominated for Best Picture that year, it was No Country for Old Men, Atonement, Juno, Michael Clayton, There Will Be Blood. Michael Clayton should not be on that list, and Juno was great, but I probably don't think that should be on that list either. When you look at Best Actor, George Clooney and Michael Clayton. Well, Daniel Day-Lewis is going to win for There Will Be Blood no matter what. But Johnny Depp, Sweeney Todd, Tommy Lee Jones in The Valley of Allah, and Viggo Mortensen, Eastern Promises. Like Tommy Lee Jones and Johnny Depp, I don't think should be on that list. Same with George Clooney. Like it's a really brushed over film. It's not really on anyone's top 10 list, and it's near and dear to my heart because and
It's very good,
presumably
but it also
yours
is really procedural. It's like super focused on facts and reenacting things that happened, as opposed to actual like normal David Fincher cinematic, like very flashy kind of stuff. You know, it was just like
that's what makes this
film.
movie so horrifying to me, is because this is a true story and it happened in my backyard. It happened like in your backyard too, Diction. Like you grew up in partly, I think, in Northern California, right?
Bay Area, yeah.
Bay Area, yeah. And the killer presumably lived in Santa Rosa too, which is the city that I just moved from a little while ago too. So it's personally interesting for me because of the location of the film. But then I also I love Robert Downey Jr.'s character in that movie. He just knocks it out of the park. He didn't get nominated for shit. So I don't know what David Fincher's thing with the Academy is, but I don't think he really gets a whole lot of love. I mean, same thing with like Seven and Fight Club. I don't think they really.
Fight Club was a hard pill to swallow because it was so violent and so like anarchic, but like he got nominated for like Benjamin Button got nominated for like a shit ton of awards.
Wait, that's David Fincher?
Yeah.
What?
And like, what was his last movie? The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo got nominated as well, I believe.
Did he do the remake of
Gone Girl got nominated. He's been getting a lot more love in the last like 5 or so years.
You know what?
I didn't know David Fincher did the remake of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah. It was really good too. And then I also watched Panic Room recently too. That's another one that he did, and
That's a good one.
It's
It's a
good,
good
yeah.
Solid move.
I saw previews for that, and I thought, oh, this is going to be stupid. And then I didn't realize until like last week that he was the director of that movie. I'm like, fuck, I gotta watch this movie. And so I went back and watched it. Really good movie too.
There's a really good video on YouTube that discusses like how knowledgeable Fincher is about the language of visual cinema and the way he frames his shots to help tell the story. Let me try to find that.
Well, DM that to me afterwards, because
Yeah.
that's something I would be interested in reading, and I'll put that in the description of the video for this podcast here too. But yeah, that's our over under for this week. Not so much on the overrated, but hopefully we gave you guys some good conversation there. And now we're gonna move on to reader mail. I picked out a few questions. Did you, Gio? Or do you want me to just spitfire the ones that I saw here?
You can spitfire. Oh, well, I have a few here, but yeah, we can go. We're good. We got questions.
So why don't you kick it off then, if you have some questions picked out?
Okay, so this one's directed towards Dictions from Sylvester's. How was film school? Did it help shape your taste in movies and the way you look at them?
Yeah, definitely. I got to be taught by a lot of people who worked in the industry. My cinematographer teacher has been on hundreds of like feature film shoots as camera op. He was like, what was it? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I think he was Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. He did some camera opping on that. So he was really knowledgeable, and like screenwriting teacher taught me a lot of like really, really really awesome stuff that I still use today when I write stuff.
Did you
So
have
yeah,
an
it was-
idea of like all the things that go into making a film before you showed up to film school, or was it something that once it was done you were like, holy shit, I had no idea it was that complex?
Yeah, there are a lot of like just really finicky stuff that you don't think about, like auditioning actors, budgeting, having to go through the entire script with your producer and discuss the logistics of doing certain shots and doing certain scenes. Getting locations is the toughest part of it, especially if you're a film student.
Can you
We
explain
were
to me?
lucky to have insurance. They had like a $1 million insurance policy, so we just flashed that in someone's face, like, okay, you're good to go. But normally,
Can you
This
explain to
is
me the
rough.
difference between a director and a producer?
sure, yeah. The producer essentially is kind of more important in their role than the director, just because they're in charge of making sure everything goes off without a hitch. And if it doesn't go off without a hitch, they're the ones that are responsible to make sure to fix it. So they're like every aspect of the production they're a part of, whereas the director, if they're a little more hands off, they'll probably like just do auditions, location scouts, and then like test shoots and stuff like that. But like all the other behind the scenes stuff, they don't really handle. You know, like the money budgeting, making sure to wrangle all the crew, make sure the crew's paid and fed well, and that they have bathrooms and stuff they can use. Like that's a big thing. They are one of our teachers taught us, like, bathrooms. Always make sure you get a location that has a bathroom, or you will fucking regret it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so the
Something that's
director
like,
is
they never really
yeah.
tell you what they do. You know what I mean? Like they like.
That's kind of
It's-
part of their job, is to just be like, let us handle it. Like you
Yeah,
don't need to
I
worry
guess,
about what I'm
yeah,
doing. Just do what they're trying to make the director's job as easy as possible so that they can get their vision across, essentially.
What about people who produce and direct? I mean, that seems like just crazy talk to me.
That's pretty tough too. But some directors just really, they like that control. Like they don't feel like they can handle not having every aspect under their control.
Mel Gibson does that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He usually
yeah.
is a producer as well as a director on those films.
Yeah.
My first question that I got is from @RonoCrage. His name says it's Skippy Brown. Do you guys have a favorite Martin Scorsese film?
Goodfellas.
I would have to agree with Goodfellas. I think that's the
Goodfellas.
first one that popped up in my head when you said the name.
It was Goodfellas for a long time, and then I saw Gangs of New York, and that became my favorite one. I love period pieces. I'm like, that's probably my biggest weakness in films is period pieces, and that movie just completely captivated my interest from the start to from
I
start
didn't.
to
I
finish.
really hated Cameron. What's her name? Cameron Diaz in that movie,
Really?
and she was in it way too much for me to fucking forgive it.
What did
It
you
was-
hate about it? Like a bad
I
Irish
just
accent?
hated her
or-
character. It was just such a shitty character to put in the. It was just like, of all the love interests, she has to be this like smarmy, sassy, loopy fucking thief. Like, oh, that's so cute of you. Oh my god, she's so adorable. I could not stand that.
Really?
It completely removed me from the believability of the picture.
I mean, I guess I'd have to agree with you that she was probably the weakest part of that film, but Daniel Day-Lewis in the role of the butcher was just
Yeah,
That's
well, I
my
mean, he kills
favorite.
it every time. So
He really does, yeah. But that's my favorite performance from him specifically. It's not my favorite Scorsese film isn't necessarily the best Scorsese film. It just means
Yeah,
that's the one that I
that's your
connected with the
favorite.
most. Yeah. Sylvester Calzone, you already read that one. Do you have another one, Gio?
Yeah, this is actually from YouTube. Nat Day says, "What was the last movie that truly surprised you and caught you off guard?"
That's tough.
that's a good. Yeah.
That's really
Oh,
tough, actually.
you know what? Actually, The Spectacular Now.
Wait, which one is that one again?
It's
heard the
it's
name
Miles
before.
Teller and Shailene Woodley, and it's like a coming of age romance story about two teenagers. And from like the picture on, because it's on
Oh,
Amazon
yeah,
Prime.
yeah.
If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch for free. And looking at the like the poster, it looks pretty generic. It's like two people laughing and hugging each other, but it is such an amazingly grounded and honest picture. I've watched it twice. Like, I was so shocked at how much I loved it the first time I watched it that I went back and watched it again. It's like, it deals with like alcoholism in a really honest, like, and kind of like sobering light. Their relationship is incredibly believable. The characterizations are great, and it's shot well. And it's just I don't know, it just took me completely by surprise. that I would like love it as much as I did. Like I want to go buy it now and make sure I have it forever.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that too, because like I scroll through. I'm always trying to find new movies to watch because I fucking watched them all on Netflix and Amazon Prime at this point. Not literally, but I've watched a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And I always pass the thumbnail on that one like, nope. It looks like what's that movie that one of the Vlog brothers wrote that they made the movie of? It's like a tween love story kind of film with the same.
Well, that's what it looked like. It looks like any other.
It looked
like,
exactly like that in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, no, thank you. But then I read something recently that was actually a really good movie.
It was Ebert's like favorite movie of 2013, I think too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, was he dead then? Hold on. Let me check my facts. It was some major critic's favorite film.
The next question that I have is from Someday Caesar, who says favorite space sci-fi movies.
Moon.
I still haven't watched that. You've bugged me.
Haven't watched Moon?
You've
Oh
bugged me
my
on Twitter like
God.
at least a few times to watch that movie, and I still have not watched it.
Good.
I love the main actor. I love Sam Rockwell. That's his name, right?
Yeah,
But I still have not watched that movie.
you should.
My favorite is
Especially
Sunshine.
before Warcraft comes out, because that's the same director. That was his first movie.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. I still haven't even watched the trailer for Warcraft. I don't think I'm gonna go see that movie. I have no interest in that lore. That's just
That
me
looks
though.
Interesting. It looks mildly interesting.
I like that he's
guess.
telling the both sides of the story without making. He's essentially framing it so that there is no real like good or bad guy.
Right.
Like, the orcs have their story to tell, and so do the humans. So that interests me a lot. Like I'm tired of seeing just like a good versus evil war epic. I would like to see more actual like attention to detail on whose side should you root for, or is it not that simple? You know, and I think that's cool that he's doing.
Well,
Visually, I think that movie's going to be spectacular. I think that might.
Apparently,
Like
they
you.
used way more practical effects than it looks like in the trailer.
Yeah.
They did interviews with a bunch of the actors. Like, like we actually walked on stage one time. They closed the door, and we were in a giant forest, and they actually had us jumping off of like 100-foot tall trees and stuff. Like it was, and like all the armor and stuff, and the swords, it's all real. Some of the orc makeup is not entirely CG.
Well, sell me on Moon here. Talk to me a little bit about Moon, because
Okay.
if it like don't spoil anything, but sell me on why I should watch this movie.
Okay, well, it's first of all, it seems it's very light, but it's got the emotional impact towards the end is really visceral. It's got a really interesting twist after the first act, and then it keeps going with that story and explores it in really unique ways. And just Sam Rockwell just knocks it out of the park completely. He's fantastic. The set design and costume design, all the cinematography is really like just fascinating, and it's just a very cool, like smart, like hard sci-fi. You know, it's like realistic science fiction.
Okay, I'm watching that this week, and we're gonna talk about that next week, Gio.
All right.
What
I'll
is
watch it as
what
well,
is
if
what
I've
is
never
your
seen it.
favorite sci-fi film?
I'm trying to think between. Well, it's like between District 9 and Fifth Element, honestly.
Was it? I thought it was supposed to be space sci-fi. Is that what how they? How
Yeah.
they phrase it?
Space
sci-fi,
or
okay.
it's space/sci-fi.
Space.
Film. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go with District 9 then, kind of sort of.
That is technically space. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with District 9. Yeah.
Sunshine was my favorite. It took me a minute to get there, but yeah, Sunshine.
It's interesting how his is Moon and yours is Sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. Sunshine's great, man. That's the third act gets just completely fucking bananas, but I don't give a shit. Like the movie's
Yeah, it kind of
the movie's
falls apart a
so
little bit.
beautiful. It's so beautifully shot, and the soundtrack, the score is great. I just love that movie, man. I
They've
forget.
reused that theme from Sunshine in like 5 movies since then. It was in Kick-Ass. It was in another movie I remember, but like that one theme by that composer that plays like usually in the more epic scenes. It's just been reused constantly.
Are you talking about the dun 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 dun?
No,
Because that was in the trailers.
That's the Kronos Quartet. That's from
The Two
Requiem for a
Towers.
Dream.
It was
Requiem for a Dream.
and yeah, they've used that a bunch too.
Then James Horner. No, was it James Horner? Howard Shore did a version of it with a full orchestra, and that's been used like countless times in trailers too.
District 9 was great too. I mean, District
Oh, yeah.
District 9 or District 12? District
9.
District 9. Yeah, that
Yeah.
movie's great too, man. We
District
glossed
12
over
is
that a
completely
little bit,
different
but
movie.
yeah, there is a movie called District 12, right?
Yeah, it's
okay.
it's like a
District
B12 parkour free. Oh yeah, B12.
Yeah.
That's right, B12.
District
It's like
B12, yeah.
It's like a parkour action flick, and it's
Oh wait, no, I saw that movie. That movie is fucking sick.
It's
fucking
from the guys
really,
that invented parkour.
Yeah.
It's pretty
dope.
sweet. It's pretty sweet.
They remade that with Paul Walker, right? It was Brick Mansions.
and it's really bad. The remake is
It's so
awful.
bad.
It has the same actor, doesn't it? It has the same French actor.
Yeah, but he looks so bored because they're shooting it in this weird way where you can't tell what's happening. They're doing the what like we talked about earlier, the Christopher Nolan shaky cam fucking quick cut editing type stuff.
And when the original was, you could see everything that was happening.
Yeah, it was a lot of wide shots.
Yeah, because they wanted to show off the stuntmen doing their thing. And
yeah, I loved that movie when I saw it.
Yeah, it's a great little action flick.
An actual Apple asks opinion on Bone Tomahawk. Did you guys watch that yet?
No, but Patton Oswalt has been fucking gushing over it on Twitter, and I trust his opinion on movies. So
what is it called?
Damn, it's glorious! It's so good. The Bone Tomahawk, great cast too, man. It has the lead that's in Fargo season 2 right now, the one that plays the detective, Patrick Wilson. Yeah, that's his name. And then it has God, why am I drawing it? Kurt Russell. Obviously, he's on the cover of it. He's got his big fat ass, big mustache. You can tell he shot this like right after or right before he shot The Hateful Eight. But super gory, man. Like there's a scene in that movie. I'm not gonna say any specifics, but if it doesn't make you kind of gag reflex a little bit, then I don't know, you're not a human being or something. But it's really good Western movie if you like Westerns. So now, Gio, your homework is to watch that before next week.
I'm watching that in Moon for next week.
T.S. Lipsager says Edward Norton or Joaquin Phoenix. I'm gonna say Joaquin
place
Phoenix.
The second person's face.
Joaquin Phoenix was in Gladiator as the bad guy. He was also in Her and all that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Joaquin
Edward
Phoenix.
Norton. I'm gonna go with Edward Norton.
Okay, all right. Justify it. What makes you say that?
Justify it?
Yeah.
I like his acting more. I like the way he acts. I like the way he portrays his characters that he plays a lot more.
Apparently, he's really difficult. Like really difficult.
I've heard that.
He's very method and he's extraordinarily picky.
Yeah.
About what he picks, and he also refuses to do any like interviews, like to promote any of the movies he's in.
Well,
he just kind of makes the movies and just goes to the next thing.
Yeah,
I go with Joaquin Phoenix just because I've seen him evolve as an actor over the years. Like I remember seeing him the first time I saw him was in that Nicole Kidman movie. What is it called?
What about Parenthood? He was the little boy in Parenthood. Remember that? With Steve
I saw
Martin?
that when I was really little. I don't remember it.
Yeah,
was like that really him?
It's like one of his first roles, I think, isn't it? Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. Joaquin.
No way.
Joaquin Phoenix, Parent. Yep.
First that was him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's him. 100%. Yeah, look at him.
He's gonna kill me. What was the name of that fucking movie?
Which one are you trying to think of right now?
I'm thinking of To Die For. To Die For. That one he played.
Oh yeah, that movie was.
So that was like the
up.
first movie I saw him. It is really fucked up. It's really good though.
Yeah.
And then I remember when he took that year to be a rapper, and they made a movie and it was all a hoax. And the movie's hysterical too. The movie's really really good, and it's like a really, I don't know, it's just a really good exploration about like when famous people really do fall off the deep end and like try to reinvent themselves and like struggle with their fame and shit. It's a really good, even though it's all like made up essentially. It was a good hoax. I thought that was
totally
like one of the best
committed to that.
ever.
He showed up to Letterman in character and didn't break it the whole time.
Yeah, didn't break it. Just like made it as uncomfortable as possible. It was so good.
Think of how risky that is as an actor to do that. It
was risky. Yeah,
to dedicate a year of your life. And then Casey Affleck, I think, directed that movie too.
He did. Yeah, they're like best friends, and he directed that thing. Yeah, that could have gone really south for him, but it didn't. Now he's like winning Oscars, and he's in some of the best movies out there right now. Like.
There's a couple really cool interviews too. If you just Google Joaquin Phoenix interview awards, where he just shares his opinion on awards and how he just like he doesn't even really know off the top of his head how many Oscars he's been nominated for, and he just very plainly states like I don't care, like that's not why I make movies. I'm not doing this to get any kind of recognition.
I stopped watching the Oscars like 4 or 5 years ago. I used to watch it religiously, and then I just got more and more. I don't know, just like I just saw how like they rate things there at the Academy, and I just don't agree with it.
It's really weird, man. Because
yeah,
if they don't like, I'll tell you, I'm gonna be with if they don't nominate Mad Max for best movie, I will.
That's not gonna get nominated for shit. It'll get nominated for costume design and maybe cinematography.
It
and
might,
that's
bro.
It,
It
dude.
might, because like the international, it was like the International Film Critics Association or whatever named it their top movie this year. So like it has like a lot of press and people are trying to generate buzz for it to be nominated for the big one. But man, if they don't do that, they're really fucking missing out. How are you gonna not? Are you, like, a movie can be Best Picture and an action movie at the same time. It's possible. Yet I've never seen an action movie nominated for Best Picture, and it pisses me off.
It never happens. Yeah.
Has it never happened?
They view it as like as low cinema.
Yeah.
As, like, just escapism
Yeah.
and nothing.
It's usually
more.
like what, like kind of like dramas and stuff that win that kind of
dramas
award,
and like
right?
dramedies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And war films. War films are
Yeah.
pretty big too.
Juno, that was like I just mentioned that was nominated for best. So every once in a while they'll like throw a bone to the little guys, which
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
super
Or
random.
or indies that come out of nowhere though that get really big, like Little Miss Sunshine, that kind of stuff.
Little Miss Sunshine was great.
It was great.
It was a
but
great
that was like that was definitely one of those like if it didn't get as huge as it did, it would still be as good, but the Academy wouldn't have done anything because they didn't notice it,
Totally. Well,
A
that's
lot
all
of it
that
has to do with popularity, and it's I don't know. It's a weird system.
super weird. That's all the questions that I have. Gio, did you have any more?
I do have one for our guest.
Okay.
I did this last week, and this
Don't
is gonna
do
be an
it.
every week thing. Oh, I'm gonna do it. What makes a really good movie? Like, what makes the perfect movie for you?
Oh my god, it would have to. That's like the most difficult question in the world.
I
So
know.
it's so
I
hard.
know.
I mean, it's like it's got to be a combination of everything: the directing, the writing, the acting, and the cinematography, and then the flow of the story. Flow is a big thing for me. If it feels off and disjointed, I can't really get into it. Like Gone Girl, everyone was like, "Oh, Gone Girl's so good," but the flow of the narrative was really janky and weird for me. Maybe because the book is supposed to be like that, but it just like I couldn't get into it.
The ending
as
went
much.
from like 0 to 100 real quick in that movie, and it kind of made me feel a little funny by the end of it, but I still love that movie.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was just like that. It took away from it being as magnificent as people were saying it was to me. So it's always just for me just the combination of every piece that goes into making a movie has to be working in conjunction with each other for it to be a masterpiece in my mind.
For me, it's the immersion. Like I need to forget that I'm watching a movie, and there are very few movies that do that to me, and those are the movies that I can call great. The movies
Yeah.
where like as soon as the first reel starts, I'm completely invested and involved and paying attention to the story that's on the screen, and I'm forgetting that I'm sitting down in a chair and there's someone sitting next to me and there's the smell of popcorn over here. If I completely lose track of time for 2 hours or however long the movie is, then that makes a movie great to me.
Yeah. Last time that really happened to me was I saw The Gift. And
So good.
that last like 10 minutes, I've never actually physically be on the edge of my seat in a movie ever until that movie. I was on my couch and I started scooting my butt forward, like with my hands in my face, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what the fuck? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?"
It's
That's
so good.
rare. That's rare for me. Usually, I'm just kind of like chilling and enjoying it. The Gift is like an amazing thriller. It's so good.
Well, thank you for coming on, sir. I think we're gonna end it there. If people want to find you on Twitter or on the social medias or on the Twitches and the YouTubes, where can they find you?
It's EatMyDiction1, the number 1 at the end.
On everything? On Twitch and all that?
On everything, yes.
I needed your help with branding like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Except for
you're awful at it.
Instagram. Instagram, it's EMD Graham, I
Oh.
think. Yeah.
There's always a slip in the crack somewhere.
Yep.
Bunny, where can people find you?
Active Bunny Fufu pretty much all across the board.
You guys can find me on Twitter at ZOMG. It's Hutch. On YouTube, Hutch. And Twitch, Hutch. Gio, do you want to talk to them about reader mail and stuff like that?
Yeah, make sure to send in your questions to our Twitter page, which is at Podcast Chill, not Podcast and Chill, unfortunately. Podcast Chill on Twitter, or you can send them in through YouTube as well. And if you guys want to listen to our podcast offline and not on YouTube, we will be uploading our episodes to SoundCloud as well. That
We
link will be in
have
the
been.
description.
They're already up there, just to clarify.
Yeah,
that.
they're already up there. They go up the same time they'd go up on YouTube, so you have options, so you can sync it to your phone and listen to it while you drive to work or whatever. All that good stuff.
And we've seen all your comments about iTunes too. We've just decided to stick to these two for now. If that changes in the future, we'll let you know. But it's not something that's totally off the table. So just know that we're here. We've heard you when you speak up about that. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. So I'm gonna close this one out and say thanks for watching or listening. tuning in, however you want to say it, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.
Bye.
Later.